Welcome to The Thinking Behind Reality, a podcast about how we understand the universe, not just what we think we know. In this first episode, we're exploring a simple but profound question. Why do scientific thoughts matter? What if the most powerful thing science gives us isn't knowledge, but a way of thinking? In this first episode of The Thinking Behind Reality, we explore why scientific thoughts matter, how they shape perception, and why the way we think determines the reality we experience. Science isn't what you think it is. When most people hear the word science, they think of textbooks, formulas, lab coats, facts you either remember or forget. But science isn't really a collection of facts. Facts change, theories evolve, models get replaced. What doesn't change is the way science teaches us to think. At its core, science is a discipline of curiosity. It's a method for questioning reality without rushing to conclusions. Scientific thinking asks, what do we actually know? How do we know it? What assumptions are we making without realizing it? And that mindset, more than any discovery, is what reshapes how we see the world. The difference between belief and understanding. Belief is comfortable. Understanding is unstable. Beliefs want certainty. Scientific thinking accepts uncertainty. In science, being wrong isn't failure, it's progress. Every scientific idea is provisional, temporary, open to revision. That's not weakness, that's strength. Scientific thoughts matter because they train us to live without absolute certainty, without collapsing into confusion or clinging to false confidence. They teach us how to say, this is the best explanation we have for now. And that single phrase might be one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever developed. Reality is not obvious. We tend to assume reality is obvious because it feels familiar. Solid objects feel solid. Time feels like it flows. Space feels empty. But scientific thinking shows us something unsettling. Reality doesn't behave the way it appears. At small scales, matter dissolves into probability. At large scales, time bends and stretches. What seems fixed turns out to be dynamic. What seems solid turns out to be relational. Without scientific thought, we mistake appearance for truth. Science matters because it reminds us that intuition evolved for survival, not for understanding reality. Thinking shapes what we see. Here's something subtle but crucial. We don't experience reality directly. We experience models of reality. Our senses filter. Our brains predict. Our thoughts organize chaos into meaning. Scientific thinking gives us better models. Not perfect ones, just better approximations. And when our models improve, so does our perception of the world. This is why scientific thoughts matter beyond science classrooms. They affect how we interpret information, how we handle uncertainty, how we separate evidence from assumption. They quietly shape how we think about everything. The cost of not thinking scientifically. When scientific thinking fades, something else fills the gap. Certainty without evidence, confidence without understanding, stories that feel true but aren't tested. Scientific thought protects us from our own cognitive shortcuts. It slows us down. It forces humility. It reminds us that being convinced is not the same as being correct. In a world full of information, how we think matters more than what we know. A new way to see reality. This podcast isn't here to give you answers. It's here to sharpen questions, because reality doesn't become clearer when we memorize more facts. It becomes clearer when we learn how to think better. Scientific thoughts matter because they don't tell us what to believe. They teach us how to look. In the episodes ahead, we'll explore why reality isn't as solid as it seems, what time really is, or isn't, how patterns shape the universe, and why uncertainty isn't a flaw, but a feature. This isn't about mastering science, it's about mastering the thinking behind it, because when you change how you think, you change what reality looks like. I'm glad you're here.